So scholars, our scholars, they have divided these attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in many different types. And what we are going to talk here, these are the main attributes, main sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Qidam. There is difference between Qadim and Qidam. These are two different words from very same root. Qadim is one of the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is also in the Holy Quran. And Qidam is the attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we say Qadim, it means pre-eternal, and the one who has no beginning. If you are talking about human being, if you are talking about ourselves, we can say that my birthday is on so and so date. It means my beginning is from that day. If you are talking about human being, then we can say that the beginning of human being is from Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created Adam alayhi salam. But when we talk about the beginning of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it means Allah is Qadim. He has no beginning. His existence cannot be ascribed to a particular time and does not have a beginning. Allah has no beginning. So when we say Allah is Qadim, it means He has no beginning. And Allah existed before anything else did. There was nothing. There wasn't this world. There was no star, moons. There was nothing. At that time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was existed. And He always existed. Always. We cannot even think since what time. There was no time, there was no since. We cannot think about that. And that is why, if Muhasab, he can correct me, that is why we have been told not to think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not to think in the self of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His beginning, His ending. We should not think about these kind of things. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about this attribute. Allah says, Huwa al-awwal wal-akhir. He is the first. Nothing is before Him. And He is the last. Nothing is after Him. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about Himself. Hence, there is a difference between our existence and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's existence. Now, what's the difference between our existence and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's existence? The wajud means the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pre-eternal. There is no beginning, and everlast. There is no ending. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He did not require someone to bring Him into existence. He was independent, and He is independent. He did not require anybody to bring Him in existence. And as for our existence, that when we talk about our existence, then we are hadith. Our existence, it is hadith. Hadith means it is dependent on a creator, on time and place. Our existence is depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When He created us, then we existed. And we also depend on time and place. We need time, we need place. If there is no place, if there is no time, we cannot be alive. So we are dependent, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is independent. His wajud, His existence is independent. That's the difference between our existence and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's existence. Al-Baqa, the next attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is the meaning of Al-Baqa? Is ever living. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Baqi. Baqi is name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Al-Baqa is the attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In other words, He is not subject to death or decay. When we talk about ourselves, we are Baqi right now, but after a while after a few years, after a few months, we are going to die. But when we talk about the baqa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no ending. There is no question of death, or there is no question of resurrection. That's the meaning of baqa. When we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is baqi, it means He will never be subject to an end. The Quran says about the baqa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Rahman, كُلُّ مَنْ عَلَيْهَا فَانٍ وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبِّكَ ذُو الْجَلَالِ وَالْإِكْرَامِ. All on earth is to perish. Everything on the earth, one day it has to end. It has an end. Everything on the earth. Human being, living things, non-living things, everything will be destroyed one day. And what Allah says, and the face of your Lord, full of mercy and honor, will abide forever. Means it will remain forever. There is no end for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the meaning of baqi. That's what we can understand from this verse of Holy Quran. Al-mukhalafa lil-hawadith. This is one more attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The simple meaning of this is, He does not resemble anyone or anything from His creation. There is no example for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala among His creation. We cannot say that Allah is like this, Allah is like that. When we talk about ourselves, when we talk about someone's child, we say that he looks like his father, he looks like so and so person. When we talk about something, when we talk about taste, we say this tastes like sugar, this tastes like salt. But when we talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we cannot use any example for His self. There is one more thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Holy Quran, مَثَلُ نُورِهِ كَمِشْكَاتٍ فِيهَا مِصْبَاحٌ, that the example of the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we can use these kind of examples, but not for the self. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for Himself, we cannot use any kind of example. The Quran says about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that there is nothing like Him. There is nothing like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the world or nowhere. And somebody, a pious person, had a dream about a dream of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in his dream he asked Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that, what is the essence of Tawheed? Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what is the essence of Tawheed? Oneness. Nabi Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied that whatever you think Allah is like, He is different to that. It means if there is somebody, let me give you an example. If there is someone in the world that we have never seen that person, and we are just thinking about that person in our mind, and we are making a picture that he must be like this, he must be like that. So we make picture of human being, and we think about somebody that we have never seen that person. But when we think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we cannot make any kind of picture. Even if we make any kind of picture in our mind, and we think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must be like that, He must be like this. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that whatever you think Allah is like, He is different to that. So that's the meaning, that al-mukhalafa lil-hawadith, al-mukhalafa lil-hawadith, that there is no example for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-wahdaniyah, this is the base, and this is the foundation of the religion, our religion. Wahdaniyah, oneness. Allah is one. There is no God. There is no worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In other words, He is not subject to division and numbers. Division, like some people believe that Allah has son, ma'azallah. And the kuffar of Makkah, they used to believe that the angels of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are daughters of Allah, ma'azallah. So this is a kind of division. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is pure, He is pak from these kind of division. And If we see the Surah Fatiha in the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in Surah Fatiha, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٍ, that, O Prophet, tell to these people, He is Allah the One. Allah is one. He does not have any partners. So there is no question of division. Al-Qaim bin Nafs. Qaim bin Nafs, the simple meaning of Qaim bin Nafs is self-supportive. Let me give you an example from our life. When we talk about our life, we are not self-supportive. We are dependent on so many resources. We are dependent on so many things. Our life is dependent on so many things. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not dependent on anything. Allah is independent. Allah says in Holy Quran, in the Surah Ikhlas, Allahu Samad, Allah is independent. Wajibul Wajud, this is another attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wajibul Wajud means everything in this world that we can see, and we see so many things in this world. In a point of time, there was nothing. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created these things. But for existence of these things, what we can see in front of us, they were dependent on a creator. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when there was nothing, He was there, and His existence, He was existed, and His existence was there. So that's the simple meaning of Wajibul Wajud. And there are a few more attributes. Inshallah, Maulana Athar Hussain Saab, I hope that he can talk about these more attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jazakumullahu ta'ala.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. What Mufti Sahib has just covered there are the main attributes that we associate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the main ones that we suggest that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is He is all of these attributes. The other ones that the ulama ikram have written are very simple ones, so inshallah we won't spend too much time on them, but I will go through them very quickly. The other key attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number one, Qadir, all able. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is able upon all things. Inna Allaha ala kulli shay'in qadir. Time and time again we hear this verse in the Holy Quran. Number two, does what He intends. Fa'alul lima yurid, meaning that nothing or no one can stop whatever He intends. No one can actually be in His way. Alimun, all-knowing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permanently knows everything, whether it is something apparent or something hidden, something pre-existent, something after, something to do with the present, the future, the past. It is all in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge. All listening. Sami'un, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hears everything. Basirun, all seeing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is capable of seeing all things. And with these two I will say that how does this differ from our listening ability and our seeing ability? Our listening and our seeing ability is dependent on instruments or tools. That if we want to see, then it's dependent on our eyesight. It is dependent on that Allah has given us the faculty to actually listen. He's given those instruments by which we can see, or by which we can hear. We need ears to actually hear something. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free from such instruments. He doesn't require this. Rather, it's an automatic faculty in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Kalimun, the penultimate one, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is capable of dialogue. We know this from the episode with our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and prior to that with Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا, that in some form or the other Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala engaged in dialogue with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And finally, from Ayatul Kursi, Hayyun, He is alive. That He is ever, He has always existed, as Mufti Sahib explained, and He will always continue to exist.